Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel, and this week we're going to talk about this mysterious Mark II Golf that you guys keep noticing. So over the last few months I keep seeing these little comments in the videos of other cars that I've been working on of, what is that Mark II in the background? It's not uncommon for me to get random packages turn up for Super Ron at Auto Shack. And it is this 1991 Mark II GTI 16 valve. So over the last few months I've been doing a lot of work on this, but everything that I work on at Auto Shack I'm not always able to film. This is a busy workshop. Sometimes different people, different companies work on the car and it doesn't structure it to make a video for you guys, unfortunately. But this car is an absolute stunner, so I'm going to give you a full walk around on how busy I've been on it today. So for me, this is the ultimate GTI with 90 spec, big bumpers, GTI 16 valve on the BBS wheels in the royal blue. Looks absolutely stunning. And this one from the outside looks fairly inconspicuous. Totally standard all the way around, not very stancy, all sitting nice. Nice little stainless exhaust. 16 valve rear lights, of course. Nothing that much to write about. But still, it's been grabbing your guys' attention in the background of the videos. But this has been popping up in the background of videos a lot longer than you guys realise. This was the abandoned Mark II Golf that you might have seen out the back of the old Auto Shack. It popped up in the background of my Zafira GSI videos when I was taking the engine out in the background over there. And then when we moved workshops, we moved it all the way to here and it's been sitting out the back where you might have seen a few little pop-ups there as well. But over the last couple of months, I've been cracking on. And although it's fairly inconspicuous on the outside, it's hiding a little secret. It has got our favourite 1.8 20 valve turbo, and not a standard one at that. So this car came to us already converted, but as a non-runner. It had a standard BAM with a few little goodies, and he did lots of track days, trips to Germany, around the Nürburgring. But unfortunately, one of those spirited experiences turned into a dead engine. And that is when it came to us. We dropped the engine out, had a look, and it had completely melted a piston. Although it was a standard BAM, it was being pushed a little bit because some of you might see we're on cable throttle body because this is running an Emerald ECU. So it's on aftermarket management, it's running 260 horsepower until the day that it melted. And if we look in the back, we have a trophy from that day. When you look around, you can see a few little subtle hints of its motorsport heritage. But in the back here, see it's all stripped out. We've got the faithful tow bar and these are the pistons that come out. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of damage there. But if we turn it around, we have got a holy moly, all the way through, completely melted a piston. So that is going to make a nice trophy for him. The rest weren't too bad. We've got some detonation. The sides are looking a bit scruffy, but it was this one that completely destroyed the party. So with that failure in place, he made the perfect decision for a great excuse for upgrades. This has got a lot of special bits in it already. It had a full trip to Pro Alloy with their aluminium radiator, intercooler, all their boost pipes, because this does get a really hard time on the track. It's got a Forged Motorsport baffled sump with the return from the catch can, and it's got a big breather that goes all the way down the car at the back. It's got lots of goodies in it, but as the owner freely admits, it is all a bit lastminute.com. The day before each track day, everything was chucked together. If something broke, it's just kind of cable tied up. If an oil cooler needed to be put on, it's just kind of placed in place, wedged in, and that'll do to get it through that day. But all these things kind of added up. So as it was all in bits, it gave me a great excuse to go through everything top to bottom with an empty bay and put everything right. So from the outside, it just looks like a standard GTI 16 valve big bumper model. Very, very nice. But it's actually got the air vents where the fog lights should go. And if you look closer, you can see the huge intercooler. It's like an RS500 style, goes from there all the way under here as well. We've got the oil cooler this side. It's got the big Pro Alloy custom radiator with twin fans. There's the Forged Motorsport breather kit. So it goes to the top, to the bottom, and also links back down to the sump. It's had the forged recirculation valve put right to the throttle body for better response rather than going up to the standard point. It's right by the throttle body, so as soon as you shut, that recirculates. And I've just been going through bit by bit, getting everything straightened up. All the parts were here, they were just assembled in a bit of a rush. The problems even started when I first put the engine back in, and I noticed straight away it was sitting on a massive angle. We couldn't work out why. It's got Vibrotechnics race mounts all the way round, and he looked back at his invoices, and they are in fact for a Mark II. All the original engine mounts on the block and gearbox are for a Mark II. we just couldn't work out what was going on. We tried raising that side to compensate, but then everything was hitting the top. The exhaust didn't fit, the gear cables didn't reach. We had to lower this side down, but we couldn't work out why. The Vibrotechnic rear mount this side had a single bolt hole in the middle, but the Mark IIs have a 3-bolt hole, so it had a big chunk of aluminium as an adapter. And what I remembered from doing the Mark III 20 valve conversion we did not long ago, the Mark IIIs have a single hole mount. So I had a little brainwave. I wonder if that single bolt of the Vibrotechnic mount will line up with a single bolt from a Mark III mount, and we could get rid of that big chunky adapter. It was clear that this side was way too high because the boost pipe had been rubbing on the bonnet there. The top of this one had been rubbing on the strut brace. So there's definitely something up. So we ordered a Mark III rear engine mount and all slotted together and everything fits perfectly. We also fitted the Mark III strengthener brace on that side because it's on all solid mounts. It just eases the load on the gearbox bolts that side. So with that little juggle, I could then start rerouting all the boost pipes so it fitted really, really nice, and the engine is flat. So that's better on the sump because obviously it's up like that and the oil pickups up this end. Better on the drive shafts because all the drive shafts would have been up like that. It was quite a significant tip. Now we are all nice and straight. And another big upgrade I did with this rebuild was the fuel system. As you can see, we've got a lot of shiny upgrades in the front. We've fitted a nice shiny billet 034 Motorsport fuel rail. And we've got an external Cytec fuel pressure regulator, looking nice and pretty in there with the gauge. And also, as you can see, everything here is on AN fittings. There are no Jubilees on this fuel system at all. So the fuel system comes down the braided line, into the end, feeds the injectors, out under the boost pipe and into the fuel pressure regulator. And then that returns back to the tank. Nice, simple system. So with all the fuel system upgrades, we have now got no chance of running out of fuel whatsoever on this setup. And to feed all these upgrades in the front, I've fitted a 340 litres per hour pump in the back. As this is a GTI 16 valve, it came factory with the K-Jet mechanical fuel injection, so it had all the high pressure fuel pumps at the back ready, and that's what was running the 1.8 turbo in the front. We're not sure whether fuel starvation was the problem why it melted a piston, but regardless, we wanted to upgrade the 30-year-old pump system. As factory, they have a completely empty main fuel tank. They have a lift pump in there that fills up an external swell pot. Then that has the high pressure pump in it with an accumulator and other bits and pieces, and that runs all the way to the front. It is possible to upgrade the pumps by taking the swell pot apart, putting the pump in, but these are a really complex system. They actually run over pressure because the K-Jet runs at a lot higher pressure than electronic fuel injection. So a great upgrade on these Mark IIs is luckily they're the same floor pan as the Mark III Golf. The Mark III Golf's fuel tank is exactly the same external dimensions, bolts on with the same straps, pops in to the same point on the filler, but they have an internal swell pot. Like a modern car, they have the fuel pump submerged in an internal swell pot in the tank. So what that means, you can get rid of all the exterior stuff, all the blinds, and just have 2 lines coming out of the tank all the way to the front like a modern car. So we've got a Mark III VR6 fuel tank and it bolted straight in. With that, then I could do some upgrades with the fuel system. So inside, even the little external access panel is in the same place, Mark II and Mark III, so I could get modified on the Mark III sender. And with that hatch removed, you can see the fuel sender and the AN fittings. So like I said at the front, we have not got a single Jubilee clip on this. The whole thing has been converted to AN. So the Mark II and Mark III plugs are almost the same, but they're slightly different, but the pins are the same. So what I was able to do is keep the original Mark II fuel sender wires, so there's no breaks or cuts or any change in resistance of them. They plug straight in. Then we've got the Mark III thicker wires that run back, and I actually run them to a relay at the front because we're running a high pressure pump now. The Emerald comes down the car and activates that relay, then that puts full battery juice from the battery straight into the pump. So we have got all the power and all the pressure. And then the top goes back on, so it looks factory and it's completely sealed and safe from the outside elements. Very nice. The other thing I spotted that was a bit lastminute.com, when I was doing the fuel system underneath, I had to double take at the brake lines because we had 2 flexies on this corner. Underneath, I don't know if it was an MOT repair or where the braided lines have been put on, but the brake line came out the bottom anchor point and then never made it to the top anchor point. And the old flexi was still there in the top anchor point. So I cut all them off. So I secured the flexi at the bottom and the top, what a novelty, and then made a new brake pipe that went all the way to the proportioning valve, bled up the brakes, and then we were all good there. So with the melted pistons, that gave him an excellent excuse for upgrades. He drives this really, really hard and he didn't want it happening again. So the obvious choice was to go fully forged. We've got forged pistons, we've got steel rods, We've got new race bearings, we've been top to bottom on the engine, the head has fully been rebuilt, so that should now hold together without any problems. We've also gone for a turbo upgrade on the back because that's a standard KO4, getting pretty tired, so that is now brand new and full of boost. And as mentioned, this is running on an Emerald aftermarket management ECU, so it's fully mappable, but there wasn't that many inputs in it. There's no lambda sensor in there, so it always ran open loop fueling. Also could have been a contributing factor to why it melted. If it did have lambda control, that might have possibly saved it or at least put up a warning. So now we've fitted a stack wideband lambda sensor, which is linked into the ECU and also has a big shiny gauge inside the car. In fact, in the car, there was no gauges at all. So you didn't know oil pressure, oil temperature. It's all just a guess. He thought it might have been running hot, which is why he fitted the big oil cooler on the front, even though it wasn't really fitted. So I had that all off, I made brackets for it, rerouted all the pipe work, so now got it perfectly sitting in the bumper, getting all the airflow, instead of just kind of being wedged and hanging around in there. The super cool Ford Recaros were already in, and the interior is very tidy. So we suggested getting some gauges in there, and he's gone for the best of the best again, and we've got a trio of stack. We've got oil pressure, oil temperature, and wideband lambda. These look super cool. But this is one of the nicest running Emerald cars I've ever had. Even cold start fires straight up. It just sits there and idles like it's on factory ECU. Cold start, and it's running absolutely sweet. We've got our fuel pressure regulator set at 3 bar at the moment. Even though it can handle so much more, it is mapped for the standard BAM injectors at 3 bar, so that can be adjustable in the future. Love the way the engine bay looks as well. The Pro Alloy pipes has filled every single millimetre. We've got the wideband lambda at the back, which is now linked to the ECU, so that'll keep everything under control. And inside, he can keep an eye on the gauges. All of these have got alarms on. We've got the rev counter this side. And because it's on Emerald, we can all read it here. We've got our little plug-in. So you can see there, we were 22 PSI, making 260 horsepower on the last rolling road session. We've got our lambda connected as well. There's no lambda at all on the car. So now we've got our wideband linked in. So even that flashing red might have saved it when it went super lean and melted the piston. Now the ECU can take care of it as well. Where the cigarette lighter used to be, it's got a little map change. So we can go map 2, map 1. Not sure what each one is set to, but I reckon twisting that knob sets it to kill. So everything looks happy here. There's nothing really I need to change. And I've just cleared max recorded RPM. So James, we will be watching you. And we can bump the soft limiter down as well. Let's put that 5500, just keep things safe. Program map. Dun 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 dun. Good to go. As much of a subtle GTI as it looks, when you start looking closer, there are some telltale track signs. Obviously, you can see it's got the Toyo Proxies 888s, it's got the BBS split rim wheels, and it has in fact got titanium studs and nuts. So every little gram helps. Overall, you can see the car is in great condition. For a 1991 Mark II, this is a solid shell. Unfortunately, because it had been sitting outside for so long, the jacking points were the main parts that had taken a bit of a beating. Over the years, where they've been jacked up and down, and all the sealer cracks, when the moisture gets in there, it does start to run. So once I got it all up and running, that was something I had to repair underneath, was the jacking points. Instead of just patching them up for the MOT, I cut the whole section out. Because of the rest of the shell is so clean and tidy, this one will definitely be a keeper, and I wanted them to last a long time. So I cut that section out both sides, made some nice thick plates, bent them into shape, then I removed the old jacking points themselves from the floor and then welded them to our new plates. Etch primed it all, sealed it all up, and then stone chipped it, so underneath it still looks nice and factory, but it is now nice and solid. And with that done, we were MOT'd and back on the road. So now it can go back to the customer and he can start enjoying it again. We've told him to put a few miles on the engine, we'll bring it back, do an oil change, give it a full check over, and then I think the next stage is going to be upgrading the standard BAM injectors. We've got everything else now to chase some pretty decent power. Whilst the engine was out, we also sent the gearbox away for a full rebuild. That's got a limited slip diff in as well. With the sticky tyres and everything else, this should be quite a handful. We're easily going to be chasing 300 horsepower, if not more. So it's a bit of a shame that we didn't get a full video on this. This would have made an excellent episode. It was literally an abandoned massive Golf. It had been sitting outside for a few years. Everything was covered in green. You couldn't see through the windows. All the trims, everything was just green moss. All in here was full of dirt. It did make quite a satisfying pressure wash session before I even started. But I couldn't let this one leave the workshop without showing you guys, because I absolutely love this. Got all the right bits on it, very inconspicuous, and the perfect mix of standard and aftermarket parts on the outside. So no doubt very soon this is going to be absolutely ripping round the track days again, and the customer is really excited to start throwing this thing around again. I hope you've enjoyed this little catch up. Make sure you give it a like, and as you can see around the workshop we have got plenty more that I have done full videos on, so make sure you join me for that. But until then, make sure you have fun.